Among our family's most precious homeschooling memories is cuddling up on the couch while I read aloud from the Little House books. Our family began our homeschool journey in August of 1990. In pencil on the first page of our copy of Little House on the Prairie are these words: Charlene finished reading to children 10/31/90. That was just a few weeks after our very first homeschool day. Eventually, we began taking our children to the places where Laura and her family lived while she was growing up. Even after our children married, Ray and I continued to travel to the places Laura lived. We've been blessed to visit some of them with our grandchildren. Back in 2008, Ray and I made it to the site of the Ingalls Little House on the Prairie in Kansas. The original land where Laura Ingalls Wilder and her family lived is beside a straight road called 3000 Road near Independence, Kansas. In 1870, Laura's pa attached wooden bows to his wagon, and he and Ma stretched canvas over the bows. They and their girls climbed into this covered wagon and left their little house in the big woods of Wisconsin. They rode in the covered wagon to nearby Pepin and then onto frozen Lake Pepin. They made it across safely, but just in time before the spring thaw would have made it impossible to cross on the cracking, melting ice. Day after day, Pet and Patty pulled the covered wagon across the prairie. Their dog Jack trotted underneath. Night after night, the Ingalls camped under the stars. Finally, one day, Pa said, "Whoa!" and the wagon stopped on a wide prairie near Walnut Creek and the Verdigris River. Pa said, "Right here, we'll build our house." They set up a tent home on the prairie. In a short time, Pa was hauling logs from the creek to build their little house on the prairie. In the 1970s, a group of volunteers, including members of the Jaycees of Independence, used Laura's descriptions in her book to build a replica of the Ingalls Little House. This is how the rebuilt cabin looked in 2008 when Ray and I were there. A replica was rebuilt in 2018. It was in the Ingalls Little House on the Prairie that their neighbor, Mr. Edwards, traveled through the snow to bring the girls Christmas presents. It was here that Dr. George Tan nursed them back to health when they all became ill with what Laura called fever and ague. Tan was one of thousands of Black Americans who settled in Kansas after the Civil War. Tan's grave is in nearby Independence. Laura describes Pa digging a well while they were living in the little house. I don't know for sure if this is the same well, but there is a well on the site. The prairie may have appeared empty when the Ingalls arrived in 1870. The area is still very rural today. However, the Ingalls had built their house on land that belonged to the Osage Nation. Meriwether Lewis had met members of the Osage Nation in St. Louis before he and William Clark left on the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804. President Thomas Jefferson had told Lewis and Clark to invite leaders of Native nations to visit him in Washington, D.C. Leaders of the Osage visited Jefferson in 1804. Laura describes several encounters the family had with the Osage. Laura writes a beautiful description of her feelings while looking into the eyes of an Osage baby. One day, Pa learned American soldiers were coming to make them leave the land because the land really belonged to Native Americans. The Ingalls family left the little house, got back into their covered wagon, and rode away. In addition to the replica of the Ingalls Little House on the Prairie, the site also has a school built in 1872, shortly after the Ingalls left. Sunnyside School remained open until 1948. The site also has the one-room wayside post office used from 1885 to 1977.